Will our consoles ever go extinct? I got a question that inspired this. Let's go look. What do people do that collect games if consoles' hardware can't be found anymore to play it? I genuinely do not see this being a problem with the consoles that I care about anyway, within my lifetime. For example, I tend to only collect... I don't even really collect for PlayStation 1 at all, just games that I particularly care about. But PS2 and beyond is my era for collecting. And there are solutions to nearly everything for each system. We'll go through that. But first of all, do you know just how many units the PlayStation 2 sold? The PlayStation 2, to this very day, is still the best-selling console of all time. The PlayStation 2 sold 158 million units. 158 million. The likelihood of them going extinct anytime soon, literally over 100 million of them, in my lifetime? I doubt it. I really do. Also, by the way, about 40%, the number's getting lower, we're doing a good job. About 40% of the people that watch these videos are not already subscribed, so if you could fix that and subscribe, I'd love that. There's a part on my wall over there for a silver play button one day. Love you. But on top of that, on top of the commonality, or commonness, I don't know what the correct term would be there, of the PlayStation 2, it is a very heavily moddable console. For example, there are so many different ways that you can do things to it. There are communities out there dedicated to making custom PlayStation 2s. There are people who have completely removed the need for a disk drive on a PlayStation 2 at all. Generally, I believe, could be wrong, not into that world, but when I have seen videos about this, the PlayStation 2, the thing that typically tends to break first on it, if anything does, is the disc tray. Now, granted, that is a part that is replaceable, but people have made it so that you can plug in an external hard drive with all the games on, and now you don't even need the discs anymore either. Which, by the way, is how people make sure that their games are future-proof too, because technically games will one day just stop working. They biodegrade. It's called disk rot. But people can make backups of their games through data. That's how we get game ROMs to be emulated in the first place. So even if we touch upon PlayStation 1, say PlayStation 1s became unplayable, like they went extinct. Like, I've got one right here. It's not plugged in, but just imagine hypothetically it went extinct, stopped working, could never use it again. Just, That console in particular is very easily playable in modern day. You don't actually need a PlayStation 1. PlayStation 2, and even, I'm pretty sure, PlayStation 3 are both completely compatible with PlayStation 1. Like, I'm pretty sure even a PS3 you can put a PlayStation 1 disc into, and it just works. So between modding, between backwards compatibility, and between emulation, I think that's PlayStation 1 and 2 completely covered and future-proofed. Like, even if they did go extinct, we'd find a way. One of the consoles that I would be most concerned about is the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 was notoriously difficult for developers to make games for because of its architecture. It's why, for example, you can put a 360 game in a Series X or an Xbox One and it'll just work like 95% of the time. You cannot put a PlayStation 3 game in a PlayStation 4 nor a PlayStation 5 and it just work, because PlayStation 3 was weird. And that means that if there are games that are bound to the PlayStation 3, are not playable in any other way, they never got a remake or a remaster, and all PS3s go extinct, then we're in a little bit of trouble. I just did a quick Google. Apparently there were 87 million units for the PlayStation 3 sold, which is very interesting because that's only about half of what the PlayStation 2 sold. And even again, the PlayStation 3 is probably the most modded console that I can think of, especially down to the fact that there is a version of the PlayStation 3 that is completely backwards compatible with the PlayStation 2, and people have tried to mod and Frankenstein the hell out of that thing. I'd love to get one day. It'd be completely redundant because I have a PS2 and a retro tink, but it'd be interesting to have a modded PS3 at some point, and people do that. There are whole communities out there dedicated to keeping these old consoles just going. They upgrade the fans, they mess with the processor in there, they mess with entire chips in there. To the point where, is it even a PS3 anymore? I suppose it is because you can play PS3 games. People have modded PS3 so you don't need discs. Like I say, when it comes to the not needing discs thing, people have got that solved. It's more of a problem for collectors that, it's not that the games will ever be unplayable, it's that our discs could one day be unplayable, And we might have to one day accept that these cases with the discs we've got in them are now just for display rather than actual practical use. But in terms of the PS3 being protected, we could look at the fact that a lot of the PS3 lineup, the exclusives on that system were games that are typically ported upwards to the PlayStation 4 and remastered and things like that, like Uncharted and Last of Us, God of War, etc. But Other games that were not exclusive also typically got released on the 360. And of course, the 360 is nearly completely backwards compatible with the Xbox One and Series X. So if for some reason the 360 did go, and to be fair, the 360 might be one of the more fragile consoles I've ever used. I think I've had like one PS3 and it has never broken, but I think I've had like 360s because those things are just very fragile. I think my 360's disk drive is on its way out right now because you turn the console on, you press open, it opens, it shuts. You press it again, it opens, it shuts, it opens, and then the third time it'll stay open. It's weird, I don't know why it does it, but I think my disc reader is on the way out of that console. Good thing is that 360s are dirt cheap. Let's take a look at how much a 360 costs. Not how much it costs, how many of them were sold. According to this, the units sold for the Xbox 360 was 84 million, so plenty of that one around as well. And then if we look at consoles going further forward than that, it gets a little bit pointless because most of PlayStation 4 is playable on PlayStation 5, and the Xbox Series X is basically just the Xbox One again. So like, I don't think we need to be worried about modern games, especially, and realistically, even older games are starting to get a little bit better treatment. We're getting older games being ported up more often than not, and things like PlayStation Plus where you can stream older games, like that is a current solution they're trying to find with PS3. So if you go on PlayStation Plus and look at your classic games catalogue, you'll notice that games that are on PS3, you have to stream, not download. And I think that's because of the weird architecture. It's the same reason why you can't just put the disc in and it work. If they were to work around that, that'd be brilliant, because I really hate streaming the games. It feels like there's some sort of weird input delay and I really don't like it. And if we think about the fact that the majority of the player base, I think, is still on PS4, or at least half. Like, we're 5 years into the generation for PlayStation 5 and people are just not moving across. I think when we start thinking about that, it would be very silly of them to not have future consoles be backwards compatible with at least the last couple. So generally, I would say that because of the fact that the PS4 is compatible with the PS5, by default, anything... If the PS5 is backwards compatible with the PS6, anything for the PS4 is as well. So I think we're future-proofed for now. I think the console of the PlayStation lineup that is at the biggest risk of just, being a problem is the PlayStation 3, in that should the hardware of the PlayStation 3 completely vanish, there are some games that are just a bit stuck. And again, we have emulators and things like that. And the same thing goes with handhelds, by the way. Emulation for handhelds is so massive that it's crazy. Like, if there are people who've got entire careers based around playing emulated Pokemon games, it is nuts. So yeah, I really don't think that the console itself is likely to go extinct in our lifetimes. I think we should be far more concerned about disc rot and things like that. The actual physical media that is like DVDs, like the DVDs that the games are printed onto, are far more likely to go extinct and just become unplayable long before the consoles are physically capable of not playing them anymore. To the point where I know a lot of collectors who have began backing up their physical collections digitally just so that should anything ever happen to their very expensive games that they love so much, they have something to do. I know that I would always want them displayed because a lot of my games hold nostalgic memories to me. Like, I'm looking right now at like my Dragon Ball collection, and it means something to me. I associate memories through my childhood with them, and same thing goes with like some of the Grand Theft Auto games and the Prince of Persia games and the Resident Evil games and some of the Scooby-Doos. I love it. It's great. Speaking of Dragon Ball, here's another one. I'd recommend you to collect all the Dragon Ball Z Blu-rays. When you get all 9 seasons, you summon Shenron in the spines. It looks really nice. See, I love Dragon Ball Z to the point where, like, I've got Dragon Ball Z posters around my room and Shenron is basically tattooed to my left arm. But the problem is that from what I gather on the internet, there is a real problem with Dragon Ball Z DVDs in that I don't think there is a single set of Dragon Ball DVDs that is perfect. I think it's a YouTuber called Totally Not Mark that has done a whole series franchise retrospective on the lack of quality when it comes to the control of the production of Dragon Ball DVDs. Like, there are various different box sets and things like that that have been released over the decades, and like, they're all messed up in some way or another, whether it be the colours, whether it be the dubbing, whether it be the music, whether it be the aspect ratio, whether it be something. There's something wrong with literally every possible version that you could get. Today, for example, I was in CEX and they've got some lovely Dragon Ball Z steelbooks. Like, they're really expensive too. Like, each season was like £100. And I was looking at it with my partner being like, that is something that is right up my alley. I would love that. But like, I know in my head that I don't think there is a valid version that has been physically released. And me personally, I don't even know what specific version I would want in terms of it needing to sound and look the way that I'd need it to sound for it to be the version that I grew up with. Because I think there's one version that's like 290 episodes long. There's one version that's like 260. There's obviously Kai. I don't like Kai. There's 2 different voices for Kid and Teen Gohan. I need the original voice for Teen Gohan, else it's just not going to sound right to me. Stuff like that. And like, if we look at my DVD collection, right, there have been, if we look at the box sets up there especially, I am out of space for DVDs. There's like one more shelf that I could kind of make work at the bottom there, but like, there are a lot of DVD box sets that are at HMV that I look at all the time whenever I go to a HMV that I would love to own, but they take up so much space that I don't know if I can justify it. Like, I really want to own all of the Yu-Gi-Oh box sets, so, or at least not all of them, but like Yu-Gi-Oh through GX and 5Ds. That was my 3 eras of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'd love to own those. I'd love to own like quite a few different pieces, to be fair. Like, I've got a few bits and pieces from HMV that I really adore already. So I've got Digimon Adventure Season 1, 2 and Tamers up there. And then Dungeons and Dragons, the X-Men Ultimate Collection, which is the animated series from the 90s, the Batman animated series complete collection. So like, I've got tons of stuff up there that I already love. And I'd love to have more because it'd be really pretty on the shelves. Like you say, it would be very pretty to have the Dragon Ball Z stuff, but it just... I know that I've seen all those videos about how just the stuff doesn't work the way that it's supposed to work, or it's not the quality that it's supposed to be. Maybe if there was ever a definitive collection that was released that the people that know more than I do say is perfect in every way, then maybe. Because I do have one more shelf that, again, at the bottom there, that shelf is a bit of just miscellaneous stuff that I could probably clear out, because half of it's just things that have been replaced in some form or fashion anyway. But yeah, do remember at one point, I don't know what box set it was, there was a few different box sets of Dragon Ball Z at HMV, and I know that one of my friends was filling a shelf with them, and he was collecting them, so I got him a couple of them for his birthday, because I knew that he was after them, and they were like 25 quid a piece, so it's like 9 seasons. Don't know how you get to 9 seasons, by the way, because you got what? Saiyan Saga, Namek Saga, Cell Saga, Buu Saga. That's 4. How do we split that up more? Is it split up into like Saiyan Saga, Namek Saga, Frieza Saga, Android Saga, Cell Saga, Buu Saga? But even then we're still only at 6. Like, how is that split up into 9? I have no idea. This one's a bit of a controversial topic potentially, but never played Fallout 3 or New Vegas, but I have played 4. Is it really that much better? I really enjoyed 4. I love Fallout 3, New Vegas and 4. Fallout is an interesting topic because a lot of the fans of Fallout 3 and New Vegas really don't like 4. There's a weird, pretentious little crowd within the Fallout universe that will argue about whether Fallout New Vegas or 3 is better, rather than accepting that they're both really brilliant games, but also pretty different games. But the good thing is that it isn't a case of choosing between them, because both of them exist that we get to enjoy one after another, should we so choose. Fallout 4 differentiated from the formula of Fallout 3 and New Vegas quite a lot. I think the only barrier that you might have with Fallout 3 and New Vegas is just how they look. They're not exactly first-person shooters as you might have known Fallout 4 to be. You can't sprint in them. Granted, you can mod the hell out of them and make that happen if you play them on PC, but assuming you're a casual gamer, you're playing it on console, you just want to sit on the sofa and chill like me. Don't take an insult when I say casual gamer. I didn't mean it like that. But you know what I mean. Somebody that isn't going to mod things. I feel like casual gamers are not modding their games. You know what I mean? So I would really recommend Fallout 3 and New Vegas, but understand they're not going to play like modern games, but they're so fun if you can just get over the graphics being a bit dated and just some of the animations being a bit stilted. I adore them. Like, I probably play them to completion. Like, I mean, doing all of the content possible, or at least within a single playthrough, because doing some content locks you out of other content, but you get the gist. At least every other year. I love them. And again, a lot of people that love 3 and New Vegas hate 4 because of how different 4 was to those. But I think if we'd have just had another game that felt like 3 and New Vegas, people would have complained that it was too same old. Because if you play 3 and New Vegas, they do play very, very similarly. They're on the same engine, they look the same. 3 has got like a green tint to it, but it's a bit of character, and New Vegas has a bit of an orange tint to it because you're in the desert, and you can aim down sights in New Vegas and you can't in 3, but like, they're both excellent games. I would equate Fallout 3 and New Vegas to being more like a RPG than a first-person shooter, whereas Fallout 4 is definitely more like a first-person shooter than an RPG. So Fallout 3 and New Vegas are RPGs with first-person shooter elements, whereas Fallout 4 is probably more of a first-person shooter with RPG elements, if that makes any sense. The worst you could do is give it a go. I think they are on Game Pass. Granted, I doubt the DLC is available, but the DLC for Fallout 3 and the DLC for Fallout New Vegas, not including Dead Money, I hate that with a passion, are some of the best DLCs that you could possibly experience in gaming as far as I'm concerned. if you play them, you really should get the DLC, especially because some of the best loot and weapons and armor and just stuff is also in those DLCs. And Fallout 3, realistically, as much as people think it's a massive game because it's an RPG, is really not that big. If you actually look at how many quests are in Fallout 3 versus New Vegas, or even Fallout 4, there is far less to do in Fallout 3. So if you had the base version of Fallout 3 and didn't have the DLC and all that sort of thing, it's a much, much shorter game. Yeah, I hope I sold you on giving them a go, because they're excellent games. Again, the biggest hurdle for most modern gamers is probably going to be how potentially slow they play and the graphics. But other than that, you'll love it. If you can get over that and just not see it as a problem, you won't care anymore. Like, play for an hour, you'll look past it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe and click the video on the screen now, wherever that may be.